Hi guys, Andy N, spoken label, back in the house on a Monday evening, and thankfully it's a bit warmer today. If you're doing this in real time, over the past 2 weeks, it's been bloody freezing in this flat. Now, we've got a wonderful poet with us today as well, who I met actually a couple of months ago, when Perry, who's our guest today, guest hosted Speakeasy for us, and she was that good. As I was Speakeasy, our guests our open mic spoken word night in Charlton. Perry was that great. They came along and did it a couple months later for us, and even more better. So, of course, we've got a lot more to talk about with Perry today because unbelievable writer. So, Perry, first of all, then, people who don't know you, tell people a little bit about yourself. First of all, I was including obviously, but people might guess by your accent, you're not English. So, tell them obviously where you came from originally and what started you off with your creativity.
Thank you, Andy. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Speakeasy night. It's a wonderful night. I've been coming since just after I arrived in the UK, and it's been just such a wonderful experience to get to know people and really create a sense of community. So thank you, Andy, for putting that on. And anybody who's listening who hasn't been, you should definitely check it out. Yeah, I'm Perry, and I am a poet who originally comes from Waterloo, Ontario, in Canada. I moved over to Manchester in January of 2022. So I've almost reached my anniversary of moving here, which is very
Yeah.
exciting. Um, and oh gosh, I don't have many interesting things to say about myself, so I'll just get right into my creativity because that's really the only interesting thing about me. Um,
I'm sure there is. You've just been very shy and modest, right?
um, yeah, so my creative journey started really young, honestly. I was always like really excited about making things. Um, I really enjoyed like I don't know if anybody knows what like those Tinker Toys are, where you just like create structures, and I was always really into like imaginative play. And I remember I was going through some old stuff when my parents were moving, and I found my first book that I wrote when I was in first grade. It was about a monster who didn't go
Oh,
outside because it thought it was really ugly and everybody would hate it, but it wanted pickles, so it had to go
oh,
outside. It was a heart-wrenching story, let me tell you.
oh.
It was a real journey. But yeah, no, so from a very young age, I was really into like creative writing and storytelling. And my mom just always really kind of encouraged that. She would read poetry with my sister and I when we were little. Like she would just really kind of have us engage with it honestly, not just lecturing us with it, which I think was really fun for us. We got to like give our opinions and not have us told that we were being wrong. Um, so it was really cool. Um, and then I think high school, I mean, I feel like lots of poets have like a little bit of a high school peak where they're like, oh yeah, I'm this angsty teenager who has so many feelings and I'm gonna write poetry. And that was definitely me. And it was all trash. It was I found
Oh,
no, it was
I started when I was 10, and I can definitely say it was trash. So yeah.
I know I found when I was moving over here, I found this notebook that I had, and I took a creative writing class in grade 12. And so I was like, what, 17, 18. And I found it, and oh my word, I was so embarrassed. I was reading it like alone in my room, and I was dying of embarrassment. I was like, there's nobody here to be embarrassed with me, but I'm
Good.
so embarrassed.
Oh, you
It
do.
was
You
terrible.
look back at your very early stuff like that, and I know I've done it myself, and I can remember the second poem I ever wrote. I got 2 weeks detention at school, and because the
Yeah.
teachers objected me writing about poems about lions breaking out of cages and killing the teacher. Yeah, so I can relate to that.
Oh,
So,
that's good. That's good. Um, Yeah, no, nothing like that. That sounds like exciting poetry. Mine was not very exciting poetry.
it
Mine was
wasn't.
very like, um, but yeah. So then I think I hit a bit of a drought when I was like, in like my early 20s, and I was like, I'm a party kid. I'm so cool. But it made for a lot of good poetry later. Let me tell you. Doing stupid shit is a great way to write good poetry. Um, so I think that when I first kind of started taking poetry seriously was at the beginning of 2021, probably February 2021. I took
Hmm.
back-to-back courses with two writers that I really respected. And it just kind of like one was about creation and one was about editing. And
Oh
it
yeah.
really kind of and so I took the creation one first and the editing one second. And it just kind of like springboarded me into this world of like poetry and creation and just finding a community of poets like during a lockdown, which was really cool. I thought I didn't have anybody in my life. And I found all these writers, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I think you do when it's over lockdown. It was interesting, really, because like I certainly found myself from different perspectives. I was in because you know already I'm diabetic and stuff like that. And it was like
Mm.
certainly when in my case was over lockdown, it was a case of that we both me and Amanda confronted ourselves over quite a bit of our own way we were as people over lockdown. And I
Yeah.
think over lockdown, you learned to look at things in a different way, didn't you? Really, I suppose. And so that's why you probably learned a lot about yourself as a writer during that period, I suspect.
Yeah, and I was going through a very turbulent breakup at the time, which was very helpful for my early writing. Let me tell you, there's nothing like a heartbreak to get the writing started.
Oh yeah,
Um,
completely.
uh, but yeah, no, it was really good, and like my early writing was really kind of working through a lot of trauma that I had been through in those earlier years where I wasn't writing and finding ways to come to terms with things that had been problematic in my life for so long.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting how like kind of like putting it out onto paper and like molding it into something that I liked helped me. It was almost I don't know how to explain it. It was almost like taking it out of my brain and looking at it from like a third party perspective, and that like took the power away from it. And it created something that I loved. And I was like, oh, well, this doesn't have any like the kind of power that I had over me before, which was really interesting to kind of go through that process.
Yeah, I think you need to sometimes give yourself as a writer. You do need to give yourself that bit of distance sometimes. I think when you do, then it gets
Yeah.
really, really interesting yourself as a writer. Definitely with that one. So. Now, yeah, now, okay, I suppose we better move on to your collection, really. Good point to move on there is, okay, tell us first about your collection then. And I'm going to hope I get pronounced right. Meditations for the Dead and Dying. So,
Yes. What a catchy title. You should look it up
yeah,
somewhere.
very
It's on
gothic, very
Amazon.
gothic,
Hint,
I'd say,
hint,
for that
wink,
title.
wink.
Straight away, yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
tell us about the
Um,
process in this thing, 'cause I know you seem to write it fairly quickly, didn't you, as well?
yeah, meditations for dead and dying actually came together quite quickly. I didn't realize I was actually writing a collection. I think pretty much everything for meditations was written in about 3 or 4 months. And I just kind of like looked at a bunch of stuff that I'd written and liked one day, and I realized I was like, I have like 6 or 7 poems that are just like all about this like kind of like in this like certain vein of like voice and talking about certain themes and motifs. And so I thought like, well, that could be a collection. So I just kind of kept writing. And then I found an open call for chapbooks, like short length chapbooks, because it's only like 10 poems, very short book. Um, but yeah, I found an open call and I sent it in. And so I think probably from start to like from from the writing of the first poem, the earliest poem that's in there to publication date was like maybe 6 months.
Whoa, yeah, that
Yeah, it
is.
was a very speedy one. My other ones have been taking a bit longer.
Yeah, that is really quick, that process. I find that sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so sometimes it can be like, well, certainly my second book took me forever to write. It took me about 5 years,
yeah,
5 years, and
yeah,
was not a straightforward book at all to write. But yeah, I think sometimes like that, when you get to that pace, sometimes the writing itself does come to you really quickly. It's almost like, I think when you realise what you're writing, sometimes it can be, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like for this first collection here, it's definitely just like a collection of poems that came together. It wasn't preconceived. But what I'm finding to be fun with the things that I've been working on,
Mm,
kind of like since then, is like having a preconceived idea of what you want the book to do, and then like it's like an expanded version of a poem. The collection is a big poem, and each poem is a little piece of it. You know, like you have an idea for what you want the collection to do, and then you're writing for the collection. And I found that to be a really interesting process as well.
mm. Yeah. No, I do agree with you. I also, I know you're working on new material at the moment as well. So, but like I said, I'm always tell me what your opinion is. Well, each poem you write is, oh, part of when it's obviously a collection that you are, it's a reaction to what you wrote before. So, do you find this with what you're working on at the moment and since this collection?
Yeah, no, I find that as I write, I'm trying to both cultivate a voice based on what I've written before and also
Hmm.
try and find new spaces to grow into away from what I've been doing before.
Hmm.
So I feel like what I've written in the past affects the way that I grow forward quite a bit. Because I have this like insane fear of just like writing the same poem twice. I hate it. I'm like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
And
no, I can relate to that.
you
Always a
know,
believer as an artist and writer, you've got to be constantly moving forward. Especially.
exactly. Exactly. And so it's really it is nice. It is interesting to
Mm,
read back stuff from meditate because for a while I wasn't reading anything from meditations for the dead and dying because it was like older, quote unquote. It's only like a year old, but it was quote unquote older work. And I was like, well, I have newer stuff that's more like me, blah 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 blah. But it
mm.
is really nice to pull out stuff that you're still proud of a year later.
Yeah,
Say
no,
this is an older version of what I've done, but it still has my voice. You can still tell that like it was me that wrote this, and I'm proud of these pieces. And even though it's not where I am right now, they're still worth celebrating.
yeah, I'm a believer in that myself because first book I did, so it's over 10 years old now, and I still sometimes will dip back into the odd two or three pieces from that book, even sometimes. And you do, it's like,
Yeah,
I think when you go further, you step away from you're a different sort of person altogether. And
yeah.
I can see from the notes you've got, like I've read an interview I found before you put down what your forthcoming book, where obviously if you're your debut book, people wonder about is you're talking about the themes of birth, death, and the violence found in life, which is like I said, it's meaty stuff. Nothing but the best of our viewers and book and label. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I think what I've heard of your newer stuff as well, because like I said, I've heard you read about I think it's 3 times now. And like it was like, yeah, I think your newer stuff's obviously heading in a different direction from that, but keeping some of the same themes, really, isn't it? I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely I'm trying to find new ways of looking at because like you can look at something in many different ways, right? And what I like to do is I like to look at kind of the neutrality of existence. It's like yeah, things suck sometimes, but it's not malicious. And yeah, things can be good sometimes, but it's not, gracious. Like it's the world is neutral and things happen. So, and I do tend to, especially previously, I've spoken quite a lot about kind of like death and dying, obviously meditations for death and dying. And I've kind of moved into more of a space talking about well, moved into, I did an entire project kind of about mental health, and sexuality and substance abuse. Um, and then now I'm not sure exactly. Honestly, I've taken a bit of a break from writing over the last month or so. Because I just haven't known exactly where I want to move. And I think that that's part of the process. And a really good part of the process is looking inside of yourself and saying, where am I on my journey that I feel I want to express? You know, like I feel like for myself, I don't want to just, I find it very hard to just write anything. I have to want to express something and have a certain understanding of what it is I'm trying to do. And I just am not sure what I want to do just yet because I'm just moving into this new phase.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. It's I think, like I said, fortunately, there was a gap between what 5 years to my first and second book, and I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it took me that long to find a voice for what I wanted
Yeah.
to do next. And like people wondering, your debut collection came out last year, didn't it? September time, by what I can see. So,
December. Yeah, it got accepted in September and then
ah,
December is when it came out.
right, yeah. Well, as I said, it's yeah, you've still probably not had the what grieving period, have you? Moved along for you moving on to the second book, really could argue, couldn't you? Or the
Yeah.
birthing period where you're trying to find your voice, and
Yeah.
it's like there's no you cannot just I don't think you can just switch on from one book to another by a week afterwards. You need probably a calm down period, probably, don't you? Particularly if it's poetry. So,
Yeah. And like I have to admit, like this last year, like since meditations, I have completed two other manuscripts, one of which got picked up for publication. We'll talk about that later.
ooh,
Um,
ooh,
I've completed two other manuscripts and have been working very seriously on a third one, as well as just doing free creation. Like it's been a very creation heavy year.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just felt like I needed to give myself a break to recover, to read, to do some research, to really like get myself in a place where it was fresh and it was exciting and it was fun and new again.
yeah, yeah. No, of course, I can understand completely with that one. Oh, well, good luck with the forthcoming manuscript, definitely with that one. So, yeah. Now, I want to obviously before we go into what I've got, we'll talk about what your plans you got next. But we can talk
Yeah.
about your new manuscript. I know, obviously, if people go onto your website, you can see as well. And I want to ask you about these. I can see you've obviously built your website. You can see you do pins, can't you? And holographic stickers. And I love the
Yeah.
sticker where it's talk shit, get bit.
I
Now,
do love that
I'm
sticker.
going to show
I love
Amanda
that
this
sticker.
later on because I think she'll find this quite amusing. So, but tell us about then. Where did these sort of drawings or that side of you come from? Your creativity then?
Ah, drawings. Yeah, drawing is like a hobby. I love drawing. Drawing is just kind of like what I do when I don't want to think it. Like for me, poetry is active creation, whereas drawing is more passive for me. Like poetry, I'm like really trying to like sculpt something wonderful, whereas drawing, I'm just like, let's just like put our pencil on the paper for a bit and see what happens. So drawing has been like a really fun journey for me. I only got into drawing again early 2021. I never like I was like I don't draw. I do not draw. Like I didn't even doodle in margins because I was embarrassed about how bad my drawing was. And then I started doing art in early 2021, and it's been really really fun. I have this like kind of very like simple style. It's like kind of like graphic lines. I like creepy stuff. I really like drawing creepy stuff.
You can see that. You can see that from your book, definitely with that one. You've got the front cover as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah, the book cover, I drew that. So, but yeah, I don't know. Drawing is really. I want to explore like visual creation more. I would like to look into different mediums and different ways that I can maybe put images with my writing and stuff like that and bring those two things together. I think that would be really fun. Um,
cool.
but yeah, it's just sometimes I draw something and I'm like, that would look cool on a pin. So I put it on a pin.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, I think it's probably time to talk about the next collection as well. Now,
Yeah.
I did notice, and I don't know whether this is your forthcoming collection. So I know you have been doing some work, haven't you, with two Waterloo region artists, Greg Trumper, is it, and Rebecca Payne? Is this
Yeah,
project still ongoing? This one, is it?
yeah. Well, it's changed a little bit. Greg was unable to complete the rest of the project, so it was just me and Rebecca.
Hmm.
But that is actually the manuscript that got picked up for
Oh,
publication.
brilliant. Brilliant. Well, just because that's just people are wondering, myself, when I always talk to people like yourself, Perry, I make sure to do my research. And I was wondering if that was the second and forthcoming collection, and indeed, so
Yeah, it's
well done.
actually it's called Bruising Bone, Life in Bloom. It's
What's the
changed quite
title?
an it was such an interesting thing to put together, honestly. In the collaborative aspect and the different iterations it went through is really, really fun. Becca
Hmm.
and I worked together so well. We really loved working together. It turned out beautifully. Like I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Their drawings are impeccable. The words are really, really good. I feel like they're very solid. And it was just it was a real learning experience. And it was fun to work in like a multimedia project, like with
Oh yeah,
words and art coming
of
together.
course,
And
completely. How did you meet
yeah.
Rebecca? How did you meet Rebecca then? The first guest.
I lived with Rebecca during the beginning of lockdown.
Hmm.
We shared a flat in Waterloo, and just kind of became really good friends. And I was looking for an artist to do this project, and I knew that Becca's stuff was amazing. Um, so I reached out to them, and I was like, "Hey, you want a gig?" And they're like, "Yeah, I want a gig."
Brilliant. So
Yeah.
obviously then, like I said, 40 now. So I always look at things like every book is a reaction to your first book. How does this compare to the first manuscript yourself? Are you looking back at this and saying like, oh wow, this is very different to the first collection?
Oh, it's light years different. It's not even the same ballpark. It's not even the same game.
Hmm.
It's not just in the quality of the words, but in what it is. Like the conception of like it's very much a hybrid
Hmm.
art piece,
Oh, brilliant.
like it's
Hmm.
it's 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 really only I think it's six three-stanza poems, and each stanza is only three or four lines.
Well,
So
that
there's
is
really
very different then.
not
Yeah.
exactly like
Hmm.
there's not very much like it's not like a 10-piece collection kind of thing, but the way that the art and the writing play together and work together, it
Hmm.
really creates this amazing experience for the reader to just kind of go through, and like it slows you down. You know how you can just like zoom through a poem and you're like, I didn't really understand any of it, but I'm done now. Like the art and the words together really ask you to slow down and interpret it stanza by stanza.
Really, really. No, it sounds fascinating. Definitely. I don't know. It's like it's obviously it's going to be completely different to your first book, and I think that's always great. That one. So, do you have any
Yeah.
ideas when this second collection is going to be out? Then
Yeah, it's scheduled for publication for September 2023.
fantastic.
So there will be more noise on that as soon as we get some discussions done with our publisher about marketing and stuff like that. And as soon as it gets a little bit closer to the day, we'll be hyping it up.
Brilliant. We'll speak to you another time about that. See if I can assist you another time on that one. Definitely. Now, I know obviously as well, reading up in interviews I've read elsewhere about you as well. I know you have been putting some, what to quote your words, some baby steps onto novel writing. Is that something do you think you look at in the future more as well?
Yeah. I think that novel writing is something, maybe not like full on novel, because I do have ADHD. That's a little bit too much for me to commit to. But I am looking at writing a novella, um, a horror novella. I have like an entire plot. I'm starting to like I'm just kind of like taking it like very slowly. I'm
Hmm.
like doing some like world building. I'm doing some like writing of it every once in a while. But I think that that might be something that I focus on more in 2023, is starting to get this kind of off the ground,
Oh,
because it
good luck.
would be interesting to kind of round out my craft to have longer form writing
Oh,
be
excellent. Good
something that
luck with
I'm
it.
right.
Definitely, definitely good luck with that. Definitely very so. So,
Yeah, so just like a different form of the craft, right? Like a different version of writing to inform my other versions of writing.
no, fantastic. Good luck with it. Definitely. So, right, we'll better wrap up this part now anyway. So we'll let you do the hard sell then. Obviously, now, if people want to get hold of your first collection, then where do you recommend to go to?
So there's two options. The first option is you can go to Amazon and just type in meditations for dead and dying. It should pop up. The other thing, I think it's like £7 something on there. The other option is you can email me directly at sunshineloftarts@gmail.com. If you email me about inquiring about a book, I will probably give it to you at a discount, and I'll probably include goodies for you, like some stickers or pins, maybe. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Because I do have some back stock in my living room. So those are the two ways that you can get a hold of a copy.
Brilliant. So if people want to read up more about you online, then where do you recommend they go to wrap up with?
That's a little bit up in the air right now because I'm working on my website. I think it's a bit of a mess at the moment, if I remember correctly. But you can find me on Twitter at Perry Gasteiger, or Instagram. My Instagram, I'm currently logged out of my Instagram. I'm trying to get back into it. So just follow my Instagram and maybe I'll never be on there again. We'll see. Is Perry is Perry.Gasteiger. So those are my two socials.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, Kerry. It's been tremendous this first part. So hang around, everybody, because you ain't seen nothing yet. So we'll see you all again.